Most people think Chinese is just one language, or maybe two, simplified and traditional. But actually, this is not even close. Mandarin, Cantonese, Putonghua, Guoyu, are these different languages, accents, or the same thing? It sounds confusing, but it's actually much simpler than you think. In the next few minutes, I will make it all crystal clear. What exactly are they? What do they look like? And who use which in life? Let's start with the most important idea. What people call Chinese actually involves two separate systems: how people speak and how people write. Mandarin, Cantonese are about speech. Simplified and traditional are about writing. For example, in Taiwan, people usually speak Mandarin, but write traditional characters. In mainland China, people also speak Mandarin, but use simplified characters. And in Guangdong, which is a province in southern China, many people speak Cantonese, but still write with simplified characters. These two systems can mix and match. Let's start with the spoken Chinese. Mandarin is the most widely used in mainland China. It's called 普通话, meaning common language. It was promoted in the 20th century to enhance literacy and help people from different regions communicate. Today it's used in schools, media, and government in mainland China. So most people in China can speak it. In Taiwan, people also speak Mandarin. Mandarin is called 国语, meaning national language. They are basically the same language with small differences in accents and vocabularies. People in mainland and Taiwan can understand each other without a problem. But China is actually very diverse. There are hundreds of regional languages. And one of the most well-known is Cantonese. Cantonese is mainly spoken in Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau. It has its own pronunciation, vocabulary, and a rich cultural tradition. In places like Guangdong, people often speak Cantonese at home and Mandarin at school. So switching between the two is very common. Now here is something interesting. Let's look outside China. Think about the Chinese people around you, your classmates, co-workers, or people in your local Chinatown. What language do they speak? The answer actually depends on where you are. In places like Singapore and Malaysia, Mandarin is very common today. It's used in schools and everyday life, so younger generations often speak Mandarin as a shared language. But older family members might speak some different dialect, like Hokkien, Haochou, or Cantonese. In many cities across US, Canada, UK, and Australia, you often see two different layers. Older communities, especially in traditional Chinatowns, tend to use Cantonese more. This is because early immigrants mainly come from southern China. Newer immigrants, including students and professionals, are more likely to use Mandarin. So, in the same city, you might hear very different types of Chinese. But here is the interesting part. Even if people speak very differently, they can often understand each other in writing. Let's take a look at it. Today, there are two main types of writing system: traditional and simplified. Traditional characters are the older form, used for centuries across the Chinese-speaking world. Simplified characters come later, as part of the language reforms in the 20th century. The goal was simple. Characters were made easier to read and write by reducing the number of strokes, during a time when improving literacy was a major goal. As a result, simplified Chinese is mainly used in mainland China and Singapore. It is also widely taught in Malaysia. Traditional Chinese is used in Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macau. It remains the standard in education, publishing, and everyday writing. The good news? These two systems are largely mutually understandable. Many characters are exactly the same, and even when they are different, you can often recognize the meaning. If you learn one, learning the other is much easier than you think. So you might be wondering, which one should you actually learn? The short answer is it depends on your goal. If you are starting out, most learners today choose Mandarin for speaking and simplified Chinese for writing, because Mandarin is the most widely used spoken language, and simplified Chinese is used by the largest number of people. Especially if you focus on mainland China, whether for study or work or business, this is usually the more practical choice. It is used by the majority of Chinese speakers today, and the characters often have fewer strokes, which can make them a bit easier for beginners. Traditional Chinese characters has its own wonderful appeal. Many people feel it's more expressive and preserve more of the original structure of the language. It's also closely connected to the history, classical texts, and calligraphy. Especially if you are interested in the culture or planning to live or study in places like Taiwan or Hong Kong, traditional Chinese might be the better choice. For example, in Hong Kong, you may hear more Cantonese and see more traditional characters. If you are studying or working in Taiwan, you will likely use Mandarin but with traditional Chinese characters. You are not choosing a language, but choosing a combination. In the end, there is no right or wrong choices, just the one that fits your goal best. In the future videos, we will explore the Chinese character cultural sphere and what the real Chinese language might look like. If this helped you, make sure to subscribe and like. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.